All right, for those of you just joining us, we're about to crack into episode 3 of Moon Knight. Full spoilers, you've been warned. The title of the episode is The Friendly Type, which is something that I knew offhand and had to do zero amounts of research for, and there is no evidence to the contrary.
Very memorable title.
Sean, the first thing I remember about this episode is it ending and me going to our group chat and you saying, I'm not sure how I feel about this episode. Again, spoilers.
I did say that.
You did say that. We kicked off with Layla. We kick off with Layla, and is it clear what the relationship is between Layla and this woman that is creating a new passport for her? Because there's a lot of people assuming that it was her mom, and I was like, maybe, but it also seemed like not that close.
Right.
It seemed like maybe a close family friend or partner or something like that. You guys in the chat, if you know more than I do, feel free to correct me. I love being corrected. That's the only way to shut me up. Be like, Jesse, this is why you're wrong. And she discusses her concern for Mark and Steven, and we get to find out a little bit more about her father and the relationship they have. And her father was also definitely involved in the Egypt and the tomb raiding and things of that nature. There's a lot of things involving her dad that are brought up and mentioned in this episode, and there's a reveal that could prove to be troubling moving forward. But where do we catch Mark at the beginning of the episode?
Well, but before we jump into that, so you were saying possible spoilers for what could be troubling. What do you mean?
Well, it's kind of hinted at that Mark, if not directly, possibly indirectly, was involved in the death of her father.
Gotcha. Okay, so he was involved or possibly a cause of the death. Because I know,
he knows more than he's letting on, and it seems like guilt.
Okay, I didn't catch that from first viewing. I can see where you'll get to that, or where you can kind of infer that is an issue that happened. I'm not.
Well, it's like Arthur Harrow was telling him, he's like, I don't remember what the exact line was, but you haven't told her about her father.
Well, I thought he was. This is jumping way ahead, but I thought when Harrow was saying, "Oh, you haven't told her the truth," I took it to mean speaking because Khonshu wants her, not him, as his avatar type of thing, or that's why he's so stuck on doing Khonshu's bidding, and he can't let go of it, is because he's trying to protect her. It had nothing to do with the father. At least I didn't put those pieces together.
Really quickly, I want to take Mike K bringing up, are we going to see Jake Lockley in the series? I don't see why and it's unfortunate that we don't have Allison, because she knows so much more about the Jake Lockley character than these two idiots on screen right here. But I don't know. You didn't have to have a third personality if you really didn't want to. Right. But I feel like if you are going to, and they've shown something really violent just happened. Mark said, Steven, how could you? And Steven's like, oh, that wasn't me. We just have to assume it's Jake. So if I were to put money on it, I wouldn't put a lot because I don't have it, unless you guys want to visit Streamlabs, and I'll have more to put on this bet here. I would say yes. We got 3 more episodes where some people are like, oh, we're already halfway through. But I'm like, yeah, we're only halfway through. A lot can happen in 3 episodes. We've done so much groundwork right here that it's all kind of just should be events. Should be like a 3-part stuff hitting the fan.
Yeah. Ideally, yeah.
Sean, what do the cats mean?
The cats mean Cheryl's in the chat. That's what the cats mean. Because we're going to clip this out and we'll put this up later as its own section on YouTube. We are doing this live. This is Friday night, technically, at about 10 p.m. West Coast time. And Cheryl just rated us over on Twitch. So thank you, Jen, for pointing that out, because I didn't have my stream manager up running. But Cheryl, thank you for rating. I do appreciate it. We're just doing reviews, so hang out. Stay a while. What was the question you asked me? I don't remember.
Did I ask you a question? What are we talking about?
You might have. I have no idea.
Okay, perfect.
I'm sure you asked me a question.
The chat's not gonna help, because they're like, oh, I really like the ending of it. I'm like, oh yeah, me too. Let's talk about the ending. I was like, no, let's try to cover some things. So
We're here to have fun. No, you asked me what do we hop into Mark doing, right?
yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's
Where do we pick up?
hunting down a few of Haro's men on the rooftops, right?
Well, technically,
And
he runs into Harrowsman. He was chasing somebody else
yeah,
for
oh yeah, that's true.
information,
That's
and
true.
then Harrowsman took him out. Yeah.
Well, I took it to mean he was hunting them down before they killed him, but it could have been the same way. And he's like, I want to talk to
I
the guy
want you
before
to
you
know that every
shanked him.
interpretation you have of this show is wrong. I just want you to know that moving forward.
I'm not the expert. She's not here tonight,
It's true.
and we all miss out for that. And she could have broken this down better.
She's referring to the poster of Oscar Isaac wearing the hoodie. The guy in the sweatshirt is hot. Yeah, we agree. Thank you for your contributions.
I was lost. I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought that scene was good because it showed that, especially during the fight too, because you see it for a moment that he slaps a guy. Mark definitely didn't want to slap that guy. I think
Yeah.
you could see in the moment that Steven was taking over, like in physical form while he was wide awake. It wasn't like because we get the blackout, and then boom, it cuts over.
He started Mark Spector and then gave him the Will Smith.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly how
I will try to limit my references to that event as much as I can. But yeah.
That's what I remember seeing. So that was interesting. And then was that the first time too we see towards the end of the sequence when he just does the blackout and then wakes up again, right?
I think so.
Because he was in the middle of fighting them, and then all of a sudden
he ends up in a cab.
Yeah.
And then he goes and tries to stop them, and then he gets knocked and falls on his head, and then he wakes up in the middle of stabbing one of them.
Yes, exactly. So, that's what it was. So we obviously have a third. I think by now everyone's on board with the assumption that we have a third person taking over that
and
we haven't.
There's a little bit of a debate on when we saw this third personality, because some people are like, oh, it's when he was stabbing the other guy. I was like, because everyone assumes because Steven's not wanting to fight that it was Steven trying to get back on the plane. Jake might have different motives as well. Also, when Mark wakes up, they're in a cab, and cabs are heavily associated with Jake Lockley because Jake Lockley in the comics was a cabbie. So that feels like it's kind of a. This is again all stuff I learned from Allison. It is. It seems like a nod. A wink and a nod.
You just equated just because he woke up in a cab, and Jake was a cabbie.
I'm just saying. It seems like a tip of the hat. It's a tip of the hat.
Okay.
You know, they could have. It
was an Easter egg. Okay, yeah, I got you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it feel like it was.
I got you, and I got what you're going. I was listening to our friends over at Pocketflix, and Brian Avalosino was pointing out something that they've already changed characters from like his persona, because Mark Spector was a not just a mercenary, he was also like the billionaire playboy. Or no, it was Steven. Steven was
the the only person that is like comic accurate is Mark. Because I don't.
So it'd be interesting if this is Jake and not just a new personality that no one knows who it is. If he, instead of just being some random normal dude cabbie, if he was like a serial killer, because apparently he has a thirst for literally blood. Every time we cut back from what we're assuming was him in charge, he is covered in blood. He has just been wrecking people.
Which also brings up the point that this episode might not be the first time we've seen this personality.
I think we saw him in episode 1.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Because there's nothing that says that was Mark necessarily. And then there's some people that said, well, maybe it's just Khonshu taking over the body. If Khonshu could just take over the whole body at any given point, why wouldn't he just do that and live through Mark's body? So that doesn't line up. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Shortly, and then we do get a moment that it's kind of morbid, but it is funny when he's trying to threaten the kid, and the kid just goes like, "Hail Ahmed," chops off his tie and falls to his death, and Khonshu's like, I thought he would talk. Even the kids are motivated to stick with Haro.
Black Loki. I did like it. Yes. I don't know if I said I did or didn't. I know Jesse was saying it's just your
I believe
least
your exact
three,
words
is
it was a steaming heap. I believe is what you said
Yeah.
at the beginning of
Let
the
me yeah, that's
top of the
I was
episode.
just I just put a bunch of shit emojis. I don't know where you got those words from.
Okay,
But no,
just trying to read between the emojis.
I think my issue was something you had said. Someone, I think it was you, who said like we've gotten little of the actual Moon Knight like coming out to play, essentially, like the
Yeah,
costume, right? We've got very little of the fighting. Like it's always at the end of the episode type of thing.
it gets
And
to the end. I want to bring
yeah,
this up for a second. Lego says we've seen Contra take over the body of the pyramid, which we'll cover in a little bit. Yes, but it's for like brief outbursts. If
mhm.
he could just like exist inside Mark and just do his own bidding, why would he ever give up control? Is my point. So I think it's a third personality.
Mhm. Definitely could be. So I just think that there's this. I think this was my least of the three, but my issue was with this was some of the pacing and the directing of the episode.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to remember specifics other than okay, so when they get the pieces from the tomb, and now they're sitting on the front of the car in the desert randomly,
Yeah.
and Layla's like, "Hey, we really need Steven on this one. Like, he can help us out. We can get this done." He just like freaks out. He's like, "Ugh, all right, fine," and he goes and rips a mirror off. Like, why did you just take the mirror off the car? That just doesn't make any sense. And
So
then
that
he
he can
grabs all
talk to
these
Stephen.
pieces. Yeah, I get it. Oh, I get no, I get
Oh,
that. But
sorry.
then he grabs the pieces and then he walks away from the light and he goes into the darkness of the desert and just kneels down. When he could have just stood there and did that all on the hood of the car. And it's not like he's hiding the fact that he is Steven from her. Like she knows that. He could have just done that already. And so it was
Yeah,
just
I think
weird the way
he's got a weird.
it was the direction of it, and it was just odd that the characters would act that way to me. And it was just and there was multiple points in the episode where they did stuff like that. And I can't remember any more specifics, but I remember feeling like that multiple times. I'm like, wait, why would that character do that? And it
And
just felt weird. So I don't know.
this doesn't discredit that at all. I think Mark has a little bit of an ego and doesn't
Sure.
put a
Yeah.
lot of stock in what Steven does with the body. And I think part of this arc is them learning to value each other. You know,
Mhm.
Steven's like, oh, I never want to give Mark control. But he tries to be Mr. Knight for approximately 5 seconds and gets stabbed. He's like, Mark, take the body back, take the body back.
Yeah.
So I think they
Wh-
both have
Which is
to
funny.
come to terms with their own values and share now that they are very aware of each other. But your point still stands, and it is valid.
Right.
Going in order, shortly after the interaction with the, let's see, do we have the Ennead before? Yeah, before he finds Layla, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So Khonshu does like an eclipse of the sun
Mhm.
by using the moon because he is a dramatic queen, and that gets the attention of the Ennead, who call forth a meeting because Khonshu has
Yeah, basically,
yeah.
people are seeing what he's doing. He's being a little too obvious to the general public.
And so they call forth a meeting of the Ennead and their avatars, which, as much as I love the look and design of so much of this show, this definitely felt like the CW budget way of doing this scene, where it's
Mhm.
just like, oh, we're just gonna have these 6 random people and give them glowing eyes and
Mhm.
have them be the avatars. I was like, it's a little boring. You couldn't have like, because like we see Khonshu, right? Wouldn't it be cool to
Mhm.
see like the other gods all
Yeah,
designed and
like
standing behind these people?
standing behind. Yeah, that would have been
Right.
cool. And
Anyways,
because you're bringing this was another one of the issues with me, and it was this scene specifically.
I have issues with the
Um,
scene as well.
be,
We're gonna link up on this.
yeah, because this is classic movie where you could solve the entire movie in this one scene, and or a TV show, right? So we're talking about a TV show by just having the main character literally explain his issue like he's done already so many other times to other characters and like he's going to do again in the future to other characters. If you would just give him a moment to speak and be like, oh no, they're like, oh no, Haro has done nothing wrong. Like, no, bullshit. He tried to kill me multiple times. He's probably out in the desert right now. He has the little compass and he's searching for, and like, just explain the issue. But no, there's this whole thing where, oh, I can't talk. I can't, and he can't, for whatever reason, he can't verbalize his thoughts and his feelings in the moment. And it's like,
Co-
it was just the way it transpired didn't sit well. It was just weird. Again, I think it went back to the directing and the editing and how they
Mhm.
chopped it together. It just didn't sit well with me.
I definitely have a script issue and a little bit of effects and set piece issue here. But
Mm.
aside from that, like you said, with the script, um, I was very frustrated with Conchu because Conchu's the one that going in, he's like, our debate has to be indisputable. And I'm
Right.
like, all right, well then come to the table or something. Conchu, no matter who's been in control, has seen everything, right? He knows
Mm-hmm.
everything that Haro's doing. He's seen it all, heard it all. They used to, share a body. So he should know his
Yeah.
heart and mind and everything. So that
He
bothered
says
me.
as much later
Yeah.
when
And
he
I
says, I
was
remember every.
when I watched it first, I was also frustrated with Mark. I'm like, Mark, come up with better points. But then it hit me. Mark hasn't been around for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything involving Arthur Harrow and like learning what he's up to and stuff was all Steven. Steven's the
Okay.
one that
Mm-hmm.
knows what's going on. And what's interesting about that is Mark refusing to let Steven out. If he had
Right.
trusted his other half in that scene and allowed Steven to talk to the Iliad, it might have gone down completely differently. And I feel like that is a message throughout this. Like I said, a lot of this I picked up on the second watch. I was like, I think the purpose of episode 3 was almost exclusively to show the importance of Stephen Grant
Mm-hmm.
by honestly having him in less. Because Lauren and a lot of people I talked to are like, oh, I miss Stephen, and it's Layla asked to like have Stephen come out. Mark realized he needs him for any like Egypt lore, or
Mm-hmm.
doing the maps and the constellations and everything. And so I wonder if we're gonna have an episode that shows the importance of Jake. Is Jake their survival mode when they don't have Khonshu and they don't have the Moon Knight robe? Is the way that they get out of these scenarios by Jake just murdering people.
Psycho Jake who's drinking the blood of the innocent.
They could call the show Murder
Or
Night.
yeah, or the not so innocent, I guess. Uh, Garth, you're probably correct. Because yeah, Mark is probably the one who did eventually actually steal the scarab from whatever dig site they might have been on, or I mean, could have been Jake too, because obviously he's very capable. What we're assuming is Jake.
That is a good point.
So that is that. I do agree with that.
So the meeting of the Iliad goes over like a wet fart, but
Mm.
we do meet one of the avatars of the god name start with an H. I'm sorry, I love mythology.
Hestus?
Or
Hephaestus? No.
somebody in the chat's going to make us look stupider than we
You
already
know
are.
who it's gonna be? Garth. Garth will
Do it,
know.
Garth.
Garth will put it in the chat for us.
Tell us the god that
I know there was an
Hathor.
Osiris. Hey,
Hathor.
Hathor. It was
Thank
Lego.
you.
Thank you. Oh,
Yep.
Mike did it too.
Thank you, Mike. So I wasn't so much the goddess, but it was the avatar that said like, "Hey, you can find this person, and do this." Luckily for Mark, because she's like, "Oh, I would check the black market first." I'm
Right.
like that's a stop. Like I was like, "Oh yeah, just go down the street, visit the black market, and maybe you'll find." But luckily, he runs into Layla, who
Go down to third, take a left, you'll find Hank. He'll take you to the Whopper lair.
listen. I try to be very forgiving of shows and movies and stuff, but sometimes there's such like a jump in logic. Like when he bumps into Layla, she's like, "Oh yeah, I know where that sarcophagus is. It was bought by somebody that I used to basically like work with," and I'm like, "That's real convenient." Mogart, is that
How
his name?
interesting. Mogart,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Who is, and we should have his name pulled up. I don't have the actor's name, but this is the French actor who sadly passed away
Yeah.
after the series, after the season one wrapped. I guess he was he in an accident, or did he just have like a heart attack, or I can't remember how it was.
Gaspard Ulil.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Very handsome man. And I
Mhm.
believe he was lined up. That character is Midnight or Midnight Man in the comics.
Yeah.
So I think
Mhm.
maybe they had a trajectory for him. He did get like disappear off screen very
Mhm.
suspiciously. He got
Yeah.
knifed in the back and then rode off into the smoke. I'm like, okay, well, there's no body, so we don't know how much he filmed before the end of the season.
Right.
But unfortunately,
Guess it was a
we won't see
ski
him again.
accident.
Yes, it's a skiing accident.
R.I.P. to him.
Yeah. But we do get to meet him. I thought he played the role very well. Uh, and then they get to look at the sarcophagus. I'm just looking for the chat to give us the names of everybody.
Mhm.
Sinfu, was that right? Sinfu something.
Maybe. And yeah, Mike's correct. Yeah, Madripoor got dropped, and so I was immediately thinking back to Falcon Winter Soldier, and I'm like, I wonder if it's possible that they set it up where, like, I wonder if we went back and watched the Madripoor scenes, if maybe there was one of these characters in the background or something. Like, I
Um,
thought it would have been. I didn't go do it, so I have no idea if that's true or not. I know someone else on the internet might have done it, but I thought it could have been a fun Easter egg if, like, this actress who we didn't know at the time, no one knew who she was, if she was like in a background somewhere.
I bringing up this point because it's going on in the chat. Me and Mike K were talking on Facebook a little bit, comparing the Egyptian gods to the elder gods of Mortal Kombat, which anyone that knows the storylines of the games are so effing useless. They are worthless. And Raiden's always like, "Help, elder gods! I need you to help, like save Earth." And it's like, it's not really our business. So,
She's gonna be like, nah, no,
nah, fam. We got
right,
Egypt stuff to do. And they're like, we're not really interested in the human race, but our avatars are just there to observe. I'm like, observe what
right.
then? What are you? I'm a little tired of all these like godlike characters just playing playing Switzerland, right?
And so well, yeah,
That's
they're
the
in the
thing.
middle. They're refusing to get involved either one way or the other. But what Vapion says is true. Like, they are trying to portray Harrow as, and most cult leaders, that right. That's why they gain a following, is because they're supposed to be charismatic and smooth. And I think it goes to show that there's obviously a history with Harrow as Khonshu's avatar. So this may not be the first time that
True.
Harrow has been in the room with all these same people.
And
It could have been multiple. There could have been many meetings this way.
the scariest
And
things
yeah,
about villains and villains that are the heroes of their own story is often they're perfectly sane. Like Thanos
hmm
was not insane. He knew every
right,
action he was taking. It's just terrifying to us. And I think
right.
Harrow's the same way. Uh,
Thanos saved the Earth. I don't know if you
obviously,
realize. After
he
watching
kept
Eternals, he gave it 5
exactly.
more years of life.
Yeah. Stopped Tiamat. Thanos was celestial abortion before it was popular. So the sarcophagus. I'm going to say Sinfu until somebody corrects me.
Okay.
And they start looking at the clots and stuff, and Mark and Steven are having an argument with each other. Fight breaks out when Mogart realizes what's going on, and we get a really cool, fun, badass fight with Moon Knight
hmm
fighting people, which is
Spears.
nice.
Pew,
Yeah,
pew, 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 pew,
it's cool to watch Moon Knight do his thing against other people. Lego saying Sinfu sounds right. That's the first time the chat has backed me up, so I appreciate it.
pew.
Um,
Mike says Sifu, Lego says Senfu. I say fight in an arena and let us know what the actual.
tomato, Sifu Sinfu. Uh, so seeing that was really cool. And then Steven, because Mark is getting too violent, Steven tries to
Nailed
take
it.
over and tell.
Seafood.
Yeah, exactly. Steven's like, all right, time out, everyone, chill the F out. And then he gets stabbed. He's like, Walk, take the body back, which cracked me up. I'm so glad, even though it was like 5 seconds, I'm so glad to see Mr. Knight again. And I know
Mhm.
that we're going to not get some Moon Knight stuff for a little while because of what happens at the end of the episode. But I need more Moon Knight. I love that Steven has his own suit up moment.
Do we
And
think that what happens at the end, how they change the sky and whatnot? Um, do we think it's going to last more than an episode, or will that just be the driving force of the next hour that we see?
the Sky or Khonshu?
Khonshu being now imprisoned.
Yeah, I think that. So we have 3 more episodes. We might have a Moon Knightless episode,
Mhm.
and then hopefully get some resolution. by episode 5,
Yeah,
at
because
least.
there's only 6. I'm just trying to think back to previous series, because like if you think about a show like Game of Thrones, where the ninth of the 10 was always the big episode, and then the 10th episode was wrap up, right?
Right.
I don't think they've done that with these Marvel series. They've pretty much saved the big battle for at least the first half of the last episode,
Sure.
in all of the shows. So I think that we could see a full episode of them
Well,
trying to
except
figure
there
out.
was a really good John Walker fight in the episode before the finale of Falcon Winter
Mhm.
Soldier.
But
I
there's still the
honestly,
huge battle scene
yes,
in the final episode and stuff with the rest of the resistance there too.
Flag Smashers.
The Flag Smashers, yeah, thank you. So I think you're right. I think we can see a full episode. Our next episode will be them trying to figure out, hey, how do we get back to this magical chamber inside the Pyramid of Giza? Right? That's what it was, the Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
that we can find however he's encased and we can break him open. And I think that could lead into like episode 5, where all right, now we got to gear up for this and go stop Harrow from unleashing.
And I will say, episode to episode, I'm more invested in Moon Knight than I have been in a Marvel show in a bit.
Mhm.
In a bit. Definitely more than Falcon and Winter Soldier for me, and Hawkeye. Loki had high highs and then some like middles. I don't think Loki had like a super low, but sometimes I was like, after an episode, I was like, okay, this show has me right now. Even with this one being a slight step down, it still has me.
Okay, it's good to know.
So moving on from that fight, we basically get to see that the Moon Knight shroud and stuff pretty much indestructible, or it itself is not indestructible, but it makes Mark indestructible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
He
getting
gets
pierced with like
spears.
5 spears, and then he like snaps them all off and like kills everybody, and obviously walks away pretty scot-free.
Yeah.
So there's a debate going online between like Pedro Pascal and Oscar Isaac. It's like Moon Knight versus Din Djarin, and I'm like, after that last episode, I'm going to say Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Unless you take like the Darksaber and cut his head off or something, but my money's on Moon Knight on face value. So then we're heading towards the highlight of the episode, where for me, once we get to the star stuff, Layla and Mark go out into the desert and they're trying to put this map piece together. And again, we talked about this a little earlier, so we'll fast forward. Eventually Mark does let Steven out, and Steven, using like scotch tape and stuff, which is a very charming, very Stephen Grant, puts the star map together in the shape of a star, ironically. And then they're like, well, we can't really use this or scan it because the stars, this was made like 2,000 years ago, so the stars are not the same. We could end up like miles off.
So let's go see an astrologist.
I mean, well, Lauren's like, isn't there an app that can just like move it back? And I was like, then you don't get the cool line from Khonshu saying like, I remember every night, because of course he does. The god of the moon, and I believe Hathor, I believe, is like the goddess of the sky. Okay. And obviously they had some kind of interconnected love, romance, something like that. And so obviously he remembers the night sky. And so he takes Steven, which this is cool because they gave Khonshu and Steven a moment to bond, because it's been really contentious for a while. They turn back the sky, which is such a cool effect. Something cool to see. Now, I think there's a misconception online. There's some people that are like, oh, the world traveled back 2,000 years. This means the Infinity Stones are back and like all this other stuff. And I'm like, no.
They're thinking too hard about
it. They are. And
they didn't go. They were channeling their inner share, but they didn't go full share, where they did not actually turn back time.
Right. And I think, unfortunately, it's like New Rockstars, which I go through for so many theories. They're like one of my favorite places to go for theories. And they're talking about like everything being changed in the MCU because of this. I was like, no, they were struggling to hold this in place so they could get a picture. So the second Khonshu's gone, it all just snaps right back into
place.
Think of it like Cold Spring.
Yeah, they don't care about the human affairs, but also don't touch the sky world. Perfect. It's perfect.
Absolutely. If Black Logan says if Gore the God Butcher kills the wacky Egyptian gods, I'll cheer for him in Thor: Love and Thunder. Well, here's the thing. Side tangent, little tiny bit. It's Christian Bale. We're going to cheer for him anyways. But Gore is such a sympathetic character. Like he
Yeah.
may be a bit of an ape shit murderer, but I think we're going to kind of root for him all the way up until he almost murders Thor, and then we're going to be like, oh, all right, pull back a little bit.
You'd be like, "Hey, look, I was on your team. You can hate the old gods because he's like 5,000 years old. Thor's only 1,500 years old. It's not
Yeah.
Thor's fault, but it may be like the sins of my father type of thing, where it might be Odin's fault. I don't know.
Sins
They
of
might
My
hide.
Father. Are we talking Batman? All right, change the overlay.
There's so many themes they just reuse them on every story. What is it? All music is comprised of 12 notes. All stories are comprised of the same general themes. Same thing.
So, Conch's last words before being turned to stone and kind of withered away and imprisoned in the Pyramid of Giza is, have Mark save me,
Mhm.
because he knew that giving them this map to Amit's tomb was going to result in him being imprisoned, and it's one of the first selfless acts, or semi-selfless acts, I should say, that we've seen Conchu do,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that there's so many characters that we're getting to know. And it's funny, like Mark and Steven are like two different characters. You
Mhm.
learn more about Steven and Mark, and there's third personality. And Khonshu himself, which is one of the biggest surprises to me because it wasn't really in the trailers a bunch. Khonshu himself is a character with depth that we're learning about. And I hope we get to see a lot more of that soon. He gets imprisoned, and Steven, or Mark, is currently unconscious. And we cut to a scene that it was the only quote I put from the show. I put a quote from the scene as my reaction on Twitter after watching it, where Arthur Harrow, who I guess is back in the Pyramid of Giza. Do we know why?
Yeah, he got back in there somehow because
Hmm.
he knows how to go. He knows how to get there.
Because he has the Ennead under his thumb, maybe.
Yeah.
But he goes in there to gloat gloat to Khonshu just in case he can hear him, and he says the line that I really loved, where he said, "Your torment forged me. I owe my victory to you."
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we leave it. That's where the episode wraps up. So I mean, it only took us 35 minutes to cover, but you know what? I like talking about Moon Knight. Damn it!
That
So
was a good line, and I think it goes to I don't know. It goes to show, I suppose, even though we're hearing about it, we're not seeing it, type of thing. We don't know what he went through and what he was forced to do, probably against his will, right? Because obviously he was a willing participant at some point, and he turned into an unwilling participant in whatever Khonshu's plans were in his version of justice. Because now he's obviously searching for Amit. I keep forgetting Amit, right?
yeah, like
Okay.
AMMET, I think.
Yeah, right. So he's obviously searching for a different way to carry out, hopefully, a similar result type of thing. And Contra fucked him up.
Yep. So let's let us know what you thought of the episode. Where does it rank in your 3 episodes so far?